remember Mom telling me that they didn't have bullies when she went to school. She said it was really simple. If there was a kid picking on another kid, she would just thump him in the head and say, "Stop picking on that kid." Because, she was a bigger bully, but she was a bully looking out for the weaklings. And in a way, sometimes I think that's the way parenting used to be. It was like smack one kid to stop them from smacking another kid. And so we had this idea that the only way to stop violent behavior was to be violent. What? How many times I tell you to stop hitting your brother while you spank a kid is just saying, oh, if I'm bigger, I can hit anyone who's smaller and weaker. And so then we create bullies. And then we have to have a bigger bully than the original bully who has compassion for the little people, the weaker people. But at what point does that just get completely unmanageable? I mean, we have bullies now who are literally running nations around the world. Who are the bigger bullies that are going to tell them to stop picking on the poor people, the broken people, the people of different races or cultures or religions or different nations? It's never going to work. We're expecting some Old Testament God to come down and strike lightning and attack and be horrible, but that's not the way Jesus told us God is. God's a loving Father who doesn't beat his sheep with the rod and the staff, who guides and directs and teaches and protects. And so, the only solution is to not become like the bully, and that requires so much faith, because so many of us who are very strong lioness people have spent a lifetime defending people who are vulnerable, have spent a lifetime seeing people being taken advantage of and interfering in that corrupt system and that corrupt ideology by saying, you can't do that, you can't hurt those people anymore, I won't let you. They're the people who start rallies and movements and try to change the bullies of the world by, in a way, becoming a different kind of bully who has empathy for the sheep and the vulnerable and the weak and the needy. And it's never worked, not in any long-term meaningful way. And the only reason why this comes to me today is because my insurance company, which I have always had the highest respect for, who have shown me great and miraculous compassion, been with them for 20 years. For whatever reason, last week when I called to make changes to my policy, I didn't go to my branch, to the people who take care of me and my family. I was put to somebody in some other office, high office, head office, whatever. And I was spoken to by a woman who had no empathy, no compassion. She was blatantly lying. She was taking advantage of a family for no other reason than because she had a job that allowed her to do so. And I still maintained my position, which was, I will not pay more than is ethically and sound and correct for me to pay. Nothing happened. I got no response. Everything was ignored. And so today, I called my office again, and I spoke to this woman who I actually met last spring, who is a light in the world, who is full of all kinds of compassion, an interesting, fascinating, intelligent woman with a heart. And it was a completely different situation, but I went into that phone call prepared for this other woman who is hard and callous, bully type personality. And I was met with this woman who was compassionate and understanding and empathetic. And my tone from the beginning of the conversation, where I felt I needed to be at my strongest in order to state my truth clearly, in order to protect my family, went to smiling and laughing and hearing and listening and sharing. And a lot of that frustration that was coming into my voice was gone as I realized this woman was not a bully. She was a gentle, caring, meek human being, a light. And I was able to pull back that part of ourselves that gets prepared for conflict and just let the spirit go, okay, everything's resolved now. But then I looked at myself as a mirror to the world. I looked at my actions and how we mirror the things to each other. And I thought, by sharing my story of that moment, of when I came into a situation expecting to have to be strong and defend my position, to recognizing I'm not meeting with another brick wall and letting that wall melt and letting the heart grow and letting Nahid speak to me in a way that was meek and humble and compassionate and draw out of me the light and draw out of me the best part of myself that was being held back by the part of me that was just trying to protect my family. That mother bear. Rawr. Don't mess with my kids, man. Anyways, the point is that Nahid showed me the proper way, the right way, the perfect way to handle a brick wall. And she also gave me hope for humanity. And I wonder how this can apply on that global stage where we're looking at nations around the world who are literally the greatest bullies the world has ever known, even greater than the ones from the 1940s. In some ways, that is becoming our reality today. We cannot face the bullies of the world with that idea that we are stronger and we will stand firm in our truth to get what we want if we want to melt their hearts, assuming they have one, you know. But I think that it does call on us to have a great amount of faith that in the meek and loving and compassionate voice, we are at least having faith that a divine power will intervene for us and will protect us from the bullies of the world, the big ones, the ones who sit in offices. And it was a big lesson for me today, and I just wanted to share it because honestly, these are the days where we are facing all of the parts of ourselves that need the most attention, not because they're perfect, but because they need refinement, they need understanding, and they need some progress and some practical application and practice. And so thank you, Nahid, from Cooperators, who in her gentleness and compassion and empathy helped to get that mama bear to back down and helped me as a human to come and meet her in that place of communication and truth, of cooperation, and of success. So I thought I would just share that, just because maybe somebody needed to hear that today, because maybe all too often when you have lived in this world as long as some of us have and seen so many people taken advantage of, stolen from, abused, broken, and sometimes there's nobody there to stand up for them, and you just become that person who's always at the ready to stand up for somebody who's broken and fallen, and maybe finding a different way to do it. I know actually a few weeks ago there was a kerfuffle at a corner, I'll add this, and you could see everybody getting elevated, and this guy was just ramming on his horn, and he had made an absolute mistake, but he was completely unaware of it because he was so angry at somebody else's mistake, and there were several mistakes happening simultaneously. Everybody had done something that was not quite right on that corner. And all I could think was, this man is in such a rage that he's going to drive fast and aggressive and eventually potentially hurt somebody who wasn't even at the corner, because somebody almost did get hit by a car. And I remember running out beside his car, his window was down, and I just was inside. I said, hey man, shh, it's okay, calm down. Everything's going to be all right. And I saw his face when he looked at me was full of rage. And then I saw him sort of like some of that was evaporating. And I thought in my heart, oh, thank God, maybe he'll get home safe and nobody else needs to go through this. And maybe he won't go home and yell at his kids or his family or his friends or anything. He'll go home and realize, hey, it was a moment at a corner. A lot of mistakes were made, but we're okay. And we can get through this without taking that rage home and applying it to other driving situations and other people that were not involved with it at all. So there's one of my learning stories as well as one of my success stories in the ways that we every day have opportunities to calm the mama bear and the papa bear who wants to defend, and to be that calming, empathetic, peaceful, meek voice that says there is another way to deal with this challenge, this situation, this conflict. So let's all work to be our very best selves. Bless everybody today. Have a magically, miraculously marvelous Monday and stay brilliantly blessed indeed.